Hello, Simon, Wealden Tools. Just wanted to have a quick chat today about the difference between straight cutters, upcut spirals, downcut spirals and compressions. Give you some idea about where you should use them and what the advantages and the disadvantages are. So, first off, straight cutters. If possible, I like to use a straight cutter, and the reason for that is it gives you the best edge finish. So I would use a straight cutter if, say for example, I was cutting a door out of MDF that I was going to turn into a kitchen door. I want a good finish on the edge, which makes it easy for paint. I'm going to use a straight cutter for that. Now, the reason that it gives you the best finish is that you don't get the checkered lines like you would out of a compression cutter, for example. We do have straight cutters that are solid tungsten carbide let into a steel shank, which have some vibration advantages. And these are, we call them the plywood cutters, and can be found in the CNC section. To give you an idea about how fast you should be going, the T1410S will go about 10 meters a minute, somewhere between 9 and 10 meters a minute, 24 at 1000 RPM, and you'll do 18mm MDF all in one pass. Okay, so the next kind of cutter that I'm interested in using, really after the straight, is an upcut spiral. And the reason I would use an upcut over a straight is because they're faster and I'll get better tool life. The upcut spirals also have the advantage that you'll get a very good finish off the tip of the cutter or in the bottom of the pocket if you're creating a pocket. They should outlast a straight cutter. So the next kind of cutter that I'm interested in using is a down cut. This is a bit of a misconception really, because we think of upcut spirals as if they don't look after the top edge of the workpiece. It's a bit of a misconception that upcut spirals don't look after the top face of the work. If they are sharp and you've got all your tool paths and your parameters correct, you shouldn't really be getting any breakout on the top surface with an upcut spiral. Even in solid timber, if you're using a cutter like this, that you won't get any breakout. However, let's say you've created a pocket with your upcut spiral, which has given you a good finish on the bottom. You may, for various reasons, decide that you want to come back in and make sure that top edge is really crisp. And you can do that by using a downcut spiral. You won't be able to use a downcut spiral for profiling because there's nowhere to wait for the waste to go. But once you've created a pocket, the waste can spill out the side of the cutter. So a downcut spiral is advantageous in that situation. But I wouldn't use it for profiling because it won't pull the waste out at the bottom of the cut, which means that you get a bad finish on the bottom of the tip if you're not going all the way through. And where it's not removing the waste, the cutter can get hot and shorten the life of the cutter. Okay, so one other kind of cutter to talk about, this is compressions. They're really my least favourite cutter to use. That is because they're the most difficult. You've got to get your speeds and feeds exactly right to get the best out of them. They do have their place, especially in MFC and other materials where getting chip out is very difficult to avoid. So especially for MFC and in other situations. They're difficult to use because if you imagine for every revolution, if you've got a two flute compression, a 2+2, for every revolution of the cutter, it's trying to pull it out the collet twice and try and push it back in the collet twice. Now, if you've got a big machine like a Homag or a BSE, you won't be too worried about the vibrations that this causes. But if you've got a smaller machine, or maybe one of the Chinese machines that are very popular these days, those vibrations can be a concern. They tend to go away if you can get all of your feeds and speeds exactly right, but that does take a bit of work to optimize those parameters. Some of those compressions I can give you a good starting point, but you do really need to optimize them for your machine. So that's really it for me. I'd like to use a straight if I can, especially if I want a good finish on the edge, because you don't get that checker finish like you can do from spirals. It's an upcut next because it removes the waste out of the cut, which allows you to go faster. Then a down cut if I'm looking to create a really crisp edge on the top of a pocket, which, you know, sometimes that does happen. And then a compression if I need a good finish on the top and the bottom, and it's a material that is tricky like MFC. Okay, thanks for watching. I hope that helps.